Good afternoon. Today, we bring you a story that has been centuries in the making, a story of systematic oppression, a story of religious persecution that continues to this day on the soil that gave birth to one of the world's oldest civilizations. This is not history. This is happening right now.
On December 18th, 2025, a 40-year-old man named Purnachandran set himself ablaze near the Periyar statue in Madurai, Tamil Nadu. He left behind a wife and two young sons, aged 4 and 8. His crime? He wanted to lit a lamp, a sacred lamp, during Karthigai Deepam, one of the most ancient Hindu festivals.
But the deep state apparatus in Tamil Nadu said no. They defied a court order. The deep state machinery was deployed to stop Hindus from lighting a sacred lamp.
Today, we connect the dots. From colonial-era laws to modern-day persecution, from the systematic takeover of over 400,000 Hindu temples across multiple states to the relentless targeting of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. This is the Hindu Holocaust, and it continues.
Let's begin with what happened in Thiruparankundram. This is one of the 6 sacred abodes of Lord Murugan, the Arupade Viru. But for centuries, Hindus have lit the Karthigai Deepam on a historic pillar called the Deepatun atop this hill.
On December 1st, 2025, Justice J.R. Swaminathan, one of the Madras High Court's Madurai bench, issued a clear order. The Karthigai Deepam lamp must be lit at this ancient Deepatun pillar. This was not a suggestion. This was a judicial directive.
But here's what happened. On December 3rd, the day of Karthigai Deepam, the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Department, the HRNCE, deliberately disobeyed the court order at the behest of the deep state. They lit the lamp only at a different location, not at the historic Deepatun.
When devotees tried to reach the site to lit the lamp themselves, the Madurai district collector imposed prohibitory orders under Section 144. The police formed a human barricade. The state used force to prevent the court's order from being executed.
Justice Swaminathan was forced to hear a contempt of court. On December 17th, he summoned the Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary and Director General of Police via video conference. His words were unambiguous. It is beyond dispute that the order of this court has been breached repeatedly. Court orders cannot be kept in abeyance, citing law and order concerns.
The state's response? They filed an appeal. They argued there would be law and order issues. They claimed the pillar was a Jain-era structure and not traditionally used for Hindu rituals. And then, the ultimate intimidation tactic. Opposition MPs from INDIA bloc moved impeachment proceedings against Justice Swaminathan.
Let's be clear. This is judicial intimidation. A judge issues an order to protect Hindu religious rights, and the response is to threaten his career. This is not democracy. This is tyranny.
And then came the tragedy. Purnachandran, a devotee who regularly visited sacred sites like Saturagiri, could not bear this injustice. He recorded a voice message to a friend. He said he was ending his life in protests, hoping that his sacrifice would enable Hindus to lit the Deepam next year.
On December 18th, he set himself on fire. He died from severe burn injuries. The deep state took a life, not with a gun, not with a sword, but with a systematic denial of religious freedom.
To understand what happened in Thiruparankundram, we must understand the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowment Department, the HRNCE. This is the weapon. This is the instrument of control.
The HRNCE is not some modern administrative body. Its roots go back to 1817, to the British colonial Raj. Let's trace this history because history explains everything.
In 1817, the colonial government enacted the Madras Regulation 7. This was the first law that nationalized Hindu temples. The British discovered something. Hindu temples were incredibly wealthy. They owned land, gold, jewels, and received massive donations from Hindus. So the British decided to take control.
By 1845, after pressure from Christian missionaries who found it distasteful that a Christian government was managing pagan temples, the British returned management to traditional trustees through the Religious Endowments Act of 1863. For a brief period, Hindu temples were free.
But colonial greed resurfaces. In 1925, under the Diakal government system, the Madras Religious and Charitable Endowments Act was passed. This created a state board to exclusively manage Hindu temples, not mosques, not churches, only Hindu temples. This law was Act 1 of 1925, later amended as Act 2 of 1927.
Fast forward to 1959, 4 years after India supposedly gained independence. The Tamil Nadu Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Act of 1959 was enacted. This consolidated state control under a government department, the HRNCE.
Today, in Tamil Nadu alone, the HRNCE controls 38,658 Hindu temples. That's not a typo. 38,658 temples. Across India, over 400,000 Hindu temples are under state government control.
Let's put this in perspective. There are 651 Hindu temples under the Archaeological Survey of India as protected monuments. But there are 400,000 temples controlled by various state governments through departments like the HRNCE.
And what is the deep state doing with these temples? Mismanaging them, chiffoning funds. According to documented reports, Tamil Nadu alone has seen 400 temples suffer colossal mismanagement with annual losses running into thousands of crores.
In April 2024, 4 priests at the Vanabhadrakali Amman temple in Coimbatore were arrested for keeping donations left by devotees. Arrested for accepting offerings meant for the deity. This is a level of interference.
In September 2024, the HRNC and police stopped Annadan, free food distribution at the Sri Pamban Kumara Gurudasar temple. They stopped devotees from feeding the hungry in a Hindu temple.
The Supreme Court of India has issued 3 separate judgments directing state governments to withdraw from temple administration. 3 times the highest court has said, stop controlling Hindu temples, and 3 times the state has ignored it.
Compare this to mosques and churches. Not a single mosque in India is under government control. Not a single church is managed by the HRNC. Only Hindu temples. This is not equality. This is discrimination codified in law.
And it all traces back to colonial-era policies designed to break Hindu society. The British didn't just rule with guns and taxes. They ruled by destroying indigenous institutions. The 1871 census forced 25,000 fluid community groups into a rigid hierarchical caste system based on the Spanish word casta.
The Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 declared entire Hindu nomadic and monastic orders as criminal by birth. These laws stripped communities of the presumption of innocence. They destroyed the Gurukul education system that had provided inclusive learning to all sections of the society for millennia.
The British knew if you control temples, you control the wealth. If you divide society into castes, you create internal conflict. If you criminalize spiritual orders, you destroy the leadership. This was systematic. This was deliberate. This was genocide, cultural genocide.
Now, let's talk about the most targeted victim of this systematic persecution, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam.
For over 20 years, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has faced what can only be described as a campaign of annihilation. Fabricated deepfake videos, illegal arrests, custodial torture, poisoning attempts, over 70 assassination attempts. Let me repeat that. 70 plus assassination attempts. Over 120 false cases.
On March 2, 2010, Sun TV aired a fabricated video designed to incite public hatred against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. This video was later admitted to be false by the station's own COO, but the damage was done. A witch hunt began.
The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was arrested illegally. During police custody, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was subjected to medieval torture, sleep deprivation, using high decibel tile cutting machines, light bombardment.
Then came the medical torture, the so-called potency tests. Medical and human rights experts later described these procedures as rape. Excessive blood was withdrawn. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was injected with unknown substances. Forced endoscopy with oversized tubes, unscientific, invasive anal examinations documented in state medical reports.
In 2010, assassins armed with knives and machetes stormed into the residence of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Bengaluru to kill him. In 2014, an assassin with a sword entered his chambers. In 2018, an explosive attack was carried out at the Madurai Meenakshi temple during his visit.
Multiple poisoning attempts. In 2009 through Jews, in 2010 during police custody, where a rat died after eating the food of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and in 2015 in Thailand. This is not paranoia. This is documented persecution. Over 70 assassination attempts on the life of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam.
The Madras High Court prohibited the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from entering the Madurai Adinam, the very monasteries of which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the legal heir and successor. His citizenship rights were effectively withdrawn in 2018 and was forced into exile.
And what was the crime of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism? He preserved the ancient Adi Shaivite Guru Shishya Parampara, the teacher-disciple lineage of Hinduism that has existed for over 10,000 years. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revived indigenous spiritual practices and sciences. He empowered millions. He stood for Hindu revival.
The deep state could not tolerate this. They could not allow a powerful Hindu spiritual leader and incarnation to flourish. They deployed the same colonial-era tactics: fabricate allegations, use state machinery, break the spirit, destroy the institution.
This is why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, established KAILASA, the first sovereign state for the persecuted Hindus, and the United Nations has reaffirmed KAILASA's juridical statehood in multiple official reports.
What is happening in Tamil Nadu is not isolated. What's happening to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not unique. This is part of the global pattern, the Hindu Holocaust.
Let's look at the numbers, because numbers don't lie. In Bangladesh, the Hindu population dropped from 22% in 1951 to 8.5% in 2011. Between 1964 and 2013, 11.3 million Hindus fled Bangladesh. That's 632 Hindus leaving every single day.
During the 1971 Bangladesh genocide, 3 million people were killed. 400,000 women and girls, mostly Hindus, were gang raped. Nearly 30,000 of these women committed suicide because they could not bear that trauma.
In Pakistan, the Hindu population plummeted from 27% in 1941 to just 2.1% in 2023. Over 95% of pre-partition Hindu temples have been destroyed or repurposed. Every year, 1,000 underage Hindu girls are forcibly converted to Islam in Pakistan.
In Malaysia, 23,000 Hindu temples and shrines have been denied legal status since 1963. In Fiji, Hindu population has declined from 48% in 1966 to just 30% in 2020.
Even in the United States, which prides itself on religious freedom, a 2015 survey found that 1/3 of Hindu students reported being bullied for their religious beliefs. Between 2023 and 2025, multiple Hindu temples, BAPs in Sacramento, Louisville, Swaminarayan were vandalized with slogans like Hindus go back.
Hinduism lacks formal recognition as a religion in 66 countries. 27 countries officially endorse Islam as a state religion. 13 countries recognize Christianity as a state religion, but not a single country accords Hinduism similar status as a state religion.
The United Nations has resolutions combating Islamophobia and Christianophobia, but Hinduphobia? Silence. The systematic erasure of Hindus from history, the destruction of temples, the forced conversions, the demographic elimination, none of this is recognized.
Over 400,000 temples under state control, priests arrested for accepting donations, free food distribution stopped, sacred lamps prohibited, spiritual gurus are forced into exile. This is not religious freedom. This is deep state-sponsored oppression.
So where do we go from here? What can be done? First, we must name the problem. This is not administrative management. This is not maintaining law and order. This is persecution. This is the systematic dismantling of Hindu civilization using colonial-era laws that should have been abolished in 1947.
Second, we must demand for accountability. For in any case where Hindus are attacked, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has been repeatedly persecuted for standing for Hinduism, we must actively speak out, voice our concern, stand with Hinduism and Hindus. Otherwise, we will be left alone, left without a voice. It is only the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who has brought this persecution on the international platform. We must stand with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and KAILASA because it is the only safe haven for Hindus.
Third, we must sue worldwide.
The UN has published 29 reports submitted by KAILASA documenting Hindu persecution and the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and KAILASA. KAILASA has re-established embassies, issued passports, created educational systems free from colonial distortion. KAILASA is reviving the ancient, enlightened, Sanatana, indigenous, Hindu civilizational nation.
Every persecuted Hindu needs a refuge. Every destroyed Hindu temple needs reconstruction. Every erased history needs documentation.
Today, we urge you, if you believe in religious freedom, if you believe in justice, if you believe that what happened to Purna Chandran should never happen again, visit kailasa.org, support KAILASA, scan the QR code on the screen, and support KAILASA, support voice, because right now KAILASA is the only Hindu nation at the global level systematically documenting and fighting Hindu persecution.
And let us remember, the colonial powers knew that if you destroy the temples, you destroy the culture. If you criminalize the spiritual leaders, you destroy the continuity. If you divide the people into artificial hierarchies, you destroy the unity. The caste system, an invention of the British, was to divide and conquer Hindus.
For centuries, this strategy worked, but not anymore. The Hindu civilization is awakening due to one being's relentless, selfless hard work, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. From the ashes of the persecution, a revival is rising, and at the forefront of this is KAILASA, guided and by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
The deep state thought they could break the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. 70 assassination attempts, custodial torture, fabricated allegations, forced exile, but the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism did not break. He built KAILASA, he revived, he preserved the Guru Shishya Parampara. He gave the persecuted Hindus in over 100 countries a homeland, KAILASA.
This is not just about one being. This is not just about one festival. This is about civilizational survival, civilizational revival. This is about ensuring that future generations of Hindus can celebrate their festivals without fear, visit Hindu temples without state interference, follow a guru without being persecuted.
Purnachandran gave his life believing his sacrifice would matter. Let us ensure it does. Let us ensure that the next Karthigai Deepam, Hindus can light the sacred lamp at Thiruparankundram without prohibitory orders, without police barricades, without defiance of court orders.
The Hindu Holocaust is real. The persecution is ongoing, but so is the resistance. Join KAILASA, stand for Hindu religious freedom, because if you do not stand now, we will kneel forever.
To donate and to support KAILASA's work, humanitarian services, and in documenting this persecution, providing refuge and reviving the Hindu civilization, visit its official website. Every contribution counts, every voice matters. You can scan the QR code here on the screen.
This is not just about news. This is history being written, and you get to decide which side you're on. Do take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video.
Thank you for watching.